Shout out to my OG bro who's been dropping me comments and watching all my videos. Not going to name him, but I don't think people like to be named when they haven't given permission, sort of thing, and get their name splattered all over the internet. Well, all over tens of views at my channel, but you know what I mean. Public sort of naming of people on social media is something I know you have to be sensitive about. But hopefully the person I'm talking to right now knows that I'm talking to them and they appreciate it, and they can feel my, nod and a wink, if you know what I'm saying. So, but that aside, let's forget about that and get into today's video. It's an Air Jordan 1 Low, but it's a special one. It's called Center Court, and it harks all the way back to one of the biggest TV sort of moments of last year. Was The Last Dance, the documentary about the sort of Jordan years, the end of the Jordan years, with the sixth ring and stuff like that. And part of that was he was wearing this pair of shoes, and the internet went wild. You know what I mean? It's one of those sort of things where people should be focusing on what he's saying and what he's showing and stuff like that. But he's wearing a pair of sneakers that nobody's ever seen before. Turns out it was the Air Jordan 1 Low Center Court, which was basically a triple white sneaker. And what we've got today is that same sneaker with one monster hit on branding on it and a couple of pieces of branding taken off to make it even more triple white. But because of that, it makes the red stand out, and that ties us back to an Air Jordan 1 High from 2019 as well. So we'll get into all that and look at the details and the materials on this shoe as we take a close-up look at the upcoming release of the Nike Air Jordan 1 Low Center Court Band. This is a Tokyo Bara 23 Sneaker channel. Tokyo Bara 23 Sneaker channel is managed up soon and managed me to design every single day from Tokyo, Japan. I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And today, what we have in our sort of sights is this beautiful shoe, the Air Jordan 1 Low Center Court Band. And I said at the top of the video that we have to, you know what? Actually, I was thinking this when I said this just before the video when I said band. You could have thought I meant band as in like rock band, drums, guitar, bass, that kind of thing, because that's what it sounds like, right? Center Court Band, but it's actually banned as in disqualified or not allowed, not banned as in the music thing. So so we're going to like flash it back 2 years to 2019, and there's a shoe that I was kind of interested in, but when it got to the sort of like the point of actually going for it, I was actually you know what, I'm not going to do it. And it's because I'll probably bring it up here. It's the Air Jordan 1 High Defiant, and you can see it's an all black upper, and then around the heel you've got this red sort of elongated rectangular piece of design on there. But what really kind of threw me off on this was it's an Air Jordan 1 High, but it really is only those two colours, and that's not something I'm a huge fan of when it comes to Air Jordan 1 Highs. And I'm thinking about the shatter backboard, is it 3.0s as well, which were all black and orange. I think you need that third colour in there, usually white, to offset the other two colours. So so for me, that's what stopped me pulling the trigger on those Defiants. But they were a very cool shoe, a very nice shoe, and that bit of red branding on the back is the bit that's been brought forward into this shoe today. And the story of that is, what it's pointing to is back in the mid-80s when Jordan was first on the scene and the Air Jordan 1s were first coming out, was there were tons of rules in basketball, especially about clothing and especially about sneakers, and you weren't able to wear specific things. In fact, what you were able to wear was a lot easier to say because it was very simple. It was like white shoes only kind of thing. There was really no variance. And if you think of some of the sneakers that are out there these days, they're absolutely wild. Look like graffiti on the side of a New York City subway train, if you know what I mean. Whereas back in the mid-80s, very simple, very plain, and they kept a pretty tight control on the sneakers back then. So these big splashes of red on the back of the Defiant Air Jordan 1 Highs from 2019, and then here today the Center Court bands is all about sort of a nod to defying those bands and saying, you know what, you're banning extra colours and extra design in the shoes. Well, I don't give a... I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. So that's what that big red splash across the back means. And I'm also going to sort of get into it now, and then we'll go through the rest of the shoe and all the details on it. We'll talk about what it is, because I think it's kind of important to know what's going on with the construction of it. Now, this is my take on it, and I think I'm right because I wouldn't be saying it otherwise. But I might be, I'm not a Nike employee. I don't work at the factory. I'm not there watching these shoes come off the production line. But what I see is that they put the entire shoe together, and when it's absolutely complete, then they stamp this big red chunk across the heel. And you might be thinking, well, yeah, so what? But the so what on that is that what they don't do is they don't stamp it on the 4 different parts of the shoe that it goes on and then put it together. So what I'm talking about, and hopefully I'll be able to show you on the green screen properly here, is that you start on about the midfoot on the actual upper, and then you travel back onto the heel section, which we'll get to in a minute, and then wrap around the back to the branding panel, which is unique, and we'll get to that too, and then that vertical stitching sort of panel on there that holds the medial and the lateral sides together. So the red comes into play on all 4 of those parts. And what I mean is they didn't take each part and print a different part of the rectangle on and then stitch it all together. I think they put the white shoe together and then printed this red over the top of that. And that's why it looks so good. And that's why it looks so uniform between the different panels. 4 different panels all lined up. You'd never get the machinery to actually stitch that together with a smooth straight line between the 4 different panels, and you can see how clear and smooth that rectangular line is. Therefore, I'm saying that they print it on after the fact and not before. So small detail. Maybe you guys know more about it and have more to let us know in the comments down below. If this channel has nothing, it's a place to learn, place to grow, especially for me and for you guys as well. So if somebody's got some knowledge or information about that and they want to chuck it down in the comments down below, certainly go ahead and do that. Okay, let's get into the rest of the shoe and talk about the detailing on there. I mentioned already about the one extra piece of branding on there, and that's that big red on it. But they've taken away a couple of other things. They've left the grey lining on the inside of this, but there were more grey hits. I think I'm right in saying the originals had grey tongues and grey heel branding. So we'll look at the tongues first, and you can see it's white on white branding at the top of the tongues, and you've got kind of an Air Jordan with a bump right in the middle of it. So it's like a curve on both the left and the right shoes, white on white, like I said, on those tongues. And another place that was grey on the original centre courts was the heel branding panel at the back. So if we go back around there and have a look at that, you can see the branding panel at the top of the heels there is now in white, and what it has in the middle of it is a Wings logo. And for those of you who don't know much about Air Jordan 1 lows, usually that Wings logo is much larger and placed all the way across the heel and not in a little branding panel like this. So having it shrunk down and in the branding panel at the top, but you can still see the red rectangle catches the bottom of that branding panel. But the Wings logo in there is a unique difference between these guys and your regular Air Jordan 1 lows. Okay, let's get into the 2 major details on the construction and the materials. We'll go around to the toe, and I'm going ahead and calling this something, what did I say I would call it? Something like lightly creased leather. I've looked around for the official sort of definition of what this leather is, and again, hopefully on the green screen here, you can see that kind of crumpled, rumpled effect that's in the leather there. So it's not at all tumbled. It's not some kind of like snake skin or ostrich leather or something like that. There's no sort of consistency to it. It's just a very kind of loose fitting leather. So I'm going with a lightly lightly creased leather, all in white on all of the upper for the front 3/4 of the shoe. So we started on the toe and then you work your way back along the lateral side, and missing from the lateral side is swooshes, which you'd normally see on Air Jordan 1 lows, but in the case of these guys, not there. But what is there in place of that is starting around about the midfoot on an angle, running back through the heel and round from the medial side to the lateral side, or the lateral side to the medial side, depending which way you start, is a kind of layered cloud effect, which is super unique to this shoe and one of the biggest sort of points of interest on there. That was the same for the OG center course in triple white, and then the same for these center course bands. So the actual front 3/4 of the shoe is in that kind of deliberately creased effect, but very lightly creased effect, and then the back quarter of the shoe leading all the way into that sort of heel section is that layered cloud effect on there. Now, something that's been brought forward from those defined Air Jordan 1 highs I was talking about is the sole unit, so the midsole outsole unit. The 2 things that I want to pay attention to are the color of the midsole and outsole unit, which is, I'm going with off-white, even though that sounds like a brand, if you know what I'm saying. I don't think I could go to Sail. Sail's just a little bit more deep of a tan than these guys are. But what's really interesting is the second detail on that is if you zoom right in on the stitching that's holding the midsole to the upper, you can see that's also in that sort of tan, light yellow, kind of off-white, whatever you want to call that feature. So that midsole and then the outsole itself in a sort of slightly dirty dirtied and aged colour compared to the white rest of the shoe is a good place for us to finish this one up and say thank you guys for checking out the content today. So I'm going to finish it up and just come back out and look at the whole shoe. I kind of like it, you know what I mean? I think having that red definition on there elevates these guys above the OG triple white ones, but losing the grey I think is, you know, I'm not sure about that. Maybe the grey and the red and the white would be too many colours playing off each other and you just need white playing off a red, but they did keep the grey lining, so you know, but it's still a great looking shoe, and I do dig that kind of rectangular thing around the back, especially with the story of where it came from, what Defiant means and why it's banned, not banned, if you know what I'm saying. So so anyway, finishing up the video, thank you guys for checking out the content. You know, I always do truly appreciate it, and like I said at the top of the video, you know, let's just be one happy group of people that likes to talk about sneakers, and I said recently in a comment down below, assume positive intent, and if we all did that, you know, the world would be a happier, more positive place. So let's make that happen and keep things, you know, positive going forward. So so with that being said, the only thing left to do is to finish up the video and just do what I do at the end of every single video, which will remind you that I do this every single day, and that means you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.